Welcome to the Innkeepers Podcast. We're glad you found your way here.
And welcome to episode 8 of the Innkeepers Podcast. We are a podcast for innkeepers covering Hearthstone's fireside gatherings. With insight information we hope all of our fellow innkeepers find useful. On this episode, we are excited to have Wheva back on the show following his Tavern vs. Tavern win at BlizzCon. I'm Patrick from Knoxville, Tennessee. We also have O'Leary from Halifax, Nova Scotia. And as I said, rejoining us today is our guest.
I couldn't hear what you were saying.
Yeah, I couldn't hear what you said.
We have our guest and the first winner of the Tavern vs. Tavern tournament, Wheva from Fairfax, Virginia. Welcome back.
Hey, well, I'm glad to be back.
So, all right. Coming up on this episode, we are going to talk Tavern vs. Tavern finals with Wheva himself. And we're going to talk a little bit about the new expansion and planning your Kobolds and Catacombs launch parties. So, O'Leary, before we jump into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about where they can find us in our social media?
Yes, of course. So for social media, you can find us in the Discord. That is the easiest and best place to get a hold of us. There is a link in our Twitch chat, !Discord. That will give you the link. Find us there. That's where we post everything. We also have YouTube, and we have podcasts up in the ready now for you to listen to. And you can find all of those links on our Twitch channel buttons that are available for you there.
All right. So, before we get into all of that, for those of you who may have missed last week's episode, like I said, we want to welcome Wheva back to the show. So, for those who may have missed it, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Wheva?
I am the innkeeper for the Cave Gaming Center. I've been doing it just over 2 years, and I've been an innkeeper probably like a little under 3 years. I used to run events at George Mason University on a monthly basis, and that's how the Cave heard of me. And then they asked me if I wanted to run their weekly Hearthstone events, and I was like, yeah. And I've been doing it for 2 years now. I pride myself on us being a competitive tavern. We focus on getting people, helping people fulfill whatever their competitive Hearthstone endeavors are, whether that be hitting rank 5, reaching legend, or jumping into HCT. We help basically everyone do that. And so it meant a lot to actually win Tavern vs. Tavern.
Yeah,
it's incredible. You're the first one. You're the first innkeeper to have a team, go to BlizzCon, and you won. I mean, what was that moment like for you?
It's so hard to describe because when Tavern vs. Tavern was announced, it was like, this is perfect for me. This is exactly what I've been looking for, and I need to win this. I absolutely need to win this to prove we are the best competitive tavern in the world.
So,
and I knew that all along, but we felt we need to prove that as a tavern, and so we try hard at this tournament. I'll say that.
Awesome. So we just for those, it came down to you versus Razor Store SF. Both teams had fought through multiple rounds in this tournament to make it to the big stage at BlizzCon. So starting, from the beginning, after you guys qualified and knew you were going to BlizzCon, tell us a little bit about how you guys prepped, what the travel was like out there, what happened once you arrived, because I know you guys got there a day before the event, so you had a little time to actually go in and probably practice and just take us through it, each event at a time leading up to the start of the grand finals.
Okay. We hold our event every single Friday. And so the Friday right before we left is where we got most of our practice in for the Tavern Brawl, that Fireside Brawl format. And we got a little bit of practice in before that, and we actually thought after our first practice session, Rogue was just far and away the best deck. If you could pick Rogue, you always picked Rogue. And then Pac-Man and Conrad were testing for like 4 hours, and they discovered the Druid strat that we were using, and it didn't go so well on stream, but in practice, like it was like usually the person who started Druid had like 90% win rate. It just nothing went our way. It was basically the entire point of the strategy was to use the Druid quest, and we were intentionally going to die, and then if we got Druid or Priest the next round, we basically fulfilled the quest, and then we would get to a point where we basically won the game, but then we don't kill our opponents, and they would just clear the board every single turn and get a bunch of 0 mana minions in their hand, and then after we got a full hand of 0 cost minions, like big ones, we would kill our opponent, and then we would fill the board with like up to 20 damage. And so it didn't matter what our opponent picked because they were going to die the next turn. So, but unfortunately it just didn't go our way. And then after that, we traveled out to BlizzCon. Most of us arrived by Wednesday night, and we got to meet up with Nicole Balak, who is awesome. And she basically took care of us the entire weekend. She met us at our hotel, and gave us our badges, our goodie bags, and then we basically just hung out with her for the entire night. And then the next morning we went into the convention center, and we got like in 2 hours of practice before we had to rehearse for the actual competition. And then after that, Friday we basically just got to enjoy the conference, and Sunday we competed and we won.
So here's my question.
Yeah.
What was in the goodie bag?
What
were the goods, Wheva? What were the goods?
Okay, it's downstairs. I can get it. It was a backpack, and basically the front side of the backpack was completely Velcro, and you got these little sticky, like Velcro stickers you could put onto the front, and like so they gave you one for each franchise, and then you could buy more at the shop.
Cool.
And also doing different things at the conference would get you different ones as well. So like if you did something WoW related, like World of Warcraft, you would get a Pepe, like the low bird. If you did something like at the NVIDIA booth, you got NVIDIA. If you did something at the Corsair booth, you got Corsair 1. So like it was kind of a way to track what you did at the conference. And then it came with some other like a pin, one of the new Cupa Dudleys for Overwatch, and a Mercy keychain.
Very cool. Cool.
That's awesome. So you got the
you
got the BlizzCon goodie bag and just included with your badge for going. That's really awesome.
Yeah.
So
it was actually really cool. We got pro player badges, and that felt really good to have one of those.
Wow, that's so cool.
Yeah.
Did you get to hang out in like the pro player area or anything like that?
We did on Thursday. but not really on Friday. My players did on Saturday because they were like backstage like 30 minutes before HSI was over, so they were just hanging back there getting ready.
Mm-hmm.
And
So-
then
My question for you, and I saw this on your Twitter feed Thursday night. What was it like meeting Mike Morhaime?
yeah, we went to the my team got invited to the Blizzard esports mixer. It's a party that happens Thursday night right before the conference, and basically anyone involved in esports at BlizzCon shows up. So and Mike Morhaime apparently likes to attend. So it was the first time I ever met a billionaire, so it was kind of intimidating. But he was a really cool guy. And it was funny. Ray C, the if you guys know who he is, the player, he actually just bumped into me when I was talking to Mike, and he was like, "Hi," and I was like, "Mike, this is Ray," and Ray was like, "Who is this?" And I was like, "The CEO and co-founder of Blizzard," and he was like, "Oh."
No, you must have been kidding.
No,
You
he
must
was
have been
serious. He was
Yeah,
serious.
No way.
If you know Ray, yeah, I can totally see Ray doing that.
Oh my gosh.
That's a great story. And you were telling us before the show, before we went live, that you even got to see Chris Metzen.
The
Yes.
Metzen himself.
Yeah, on my way back from the conference, right after we won, we were just waiting right next to each other at the crosswalk on the way back to the hotel, and I was like, "Oh my God, is that Chris Metzen?" He was there with his family, so I tried to not intrude too much. I basically just asked for a selfie and told him thank you for making all these franchises that changed our lives.
Aw.
So,
Do you know what's crazy? And not to take away from you saying that to him, but like everyone must say that to him. And it
Yeah.
is honestly like the most genuine thing every time. Like, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Like, what else do you say to him? It's just like, thank you.
Yeah, I mean,
for all of this.
it's kind of like meeting, the creator himself. I mean, so what was the bigger moment? Winning Tavern versus Tavern, or taking a selfie with Chris Metzen? I mean, they've got to be up there.
Yeah.
I would definitely say winning Tavern versus Tavern because of what that meant to not just me, but everyone who came out with us, everyone who was on stage there, everyone back home. Like,
Oh, wow,
I didn't know this, but I visited the cave today, and the owners greeted me extremely well, and they were like, we were all watching. Like, the entire cave
Aw.
was watching.
That's awesome.
And they were talking
Wow.
about this huge gaming center. They're all just apparently huddled around this TV watching. People who didn't even play Hearthstone. People who like play League of Legends or Overwatch or whatever. They knew nothing about Hearthstone, but they were watching.
Wow. That must honestly be such an incredible thing to bring home. We're obviously talking about the moments being there and the amazing experience being at BlizzCon and winning, but I'm hopeful there's this lasting effect bringing that back home for your community to really, invigorate your community, although it seems very active, but to really, you're going to have some fire in your step going into the 2018 season, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah. I'm pretty sure I'm allowed to say this. Right after Jason Chase handed me the box trophy, which, for those who are wondering, had inside all of Team 5 signed. And after they cut away from us, I talked to him for like a good minute, and he told me that they have big plans for Tavern vs. Tavern, and it is definitely coming back. So everyone get ready.
That's good.
Awesome.
That's good,
This is
because-
good. I had to miss it this year,
Yeah.
but not next year.
Well, Team
Yeah.
Knoxville, we talked about this a little bit last week, but Team Knoxville was actually leading the cave going into the third set of games. And
No.
so my guys...
I had to knock his team out.
My guys messaged me during the Tavern v Tavern finals and were like, oh my gosh, the guys we lost to are going to win this thing. I'm like, that's right. And next year, we're going to knock off the champs.
Yeah, there's definitely a grudge match there.
Yeah.
But at least if you're going to lose to somebody, at least they won.
That's
you know,
right.
you can be like, well, the only people that took us out were the guys that went on to win it. So.
So yeah, no, we're really excited about the future of Tavern v Tavern. I think it's going to be really good, and I'm excited to see how Blizzard expands on it even more next year.
Yeah. They were talking about some really cool ideas for formats and stuff like that. I made sure to emphasize because they of course asked us what we thought of it. I emphasize that Pauper needs to be the first round. It was just so perfect. Mm-hmm. And when they do it, however many months from now, Pauper's gonna look completely different because of new cards, because of certain cards rotating out. Mm-hmm. You know, so it allows everyone to compete. Yeah. At a somewhat even level. And for the second round, we were all given super accounts. So it just that I don't think they want to give out that many super accounts.
Yeah. No. Yeah. For sure. And just for those listening who might not know what the Pauper format is, will you take a second there and explain it to them, Wheva?
Pauper is where you can't play any legendaries, and I think it wasn't any epics. No, I think it was just.
You're right. It was no epics, no legendaries.
Yeah, no epics, no legendaries, and it was standard. And basically the way it worked, the entire tournament up till the finals was that it was a round robin 3v3. So every member of your team played every member of your opponent's team, and 3 matches went on at a time, and your players could help each other with plays. What we actually did, because to figure spectating that through the client was absolutely ridiculous. So what I did was I used a Google Hangout and I muted the microphones from both sides, and so I could just switch between the 3 different screens because they're sharing screens with me, and I put it on the big screen so we could keep track of all 3 matches at the exact same time for my tavern.
That's a great idea.
Yeah, great way to approach that. Yeah.
All right. Well, it was a great tournament. Congratulations again.
Yes,
and,
major congratulations.
So the other big news to come out of BlizzCon this weekend was we finally found out what the new expansion's going to be. And a lot of people were saying pirates. A lot of people thought it was going to be
all
Deathius.
Said pirates.
Yeah.
we said pirates at the end of the last episode.
Yeah, we did. And it ended up being Kobolds and Catacombs. Now, after seeing it, I'm really excited for this expansion. I don't know about you guys.
I just realized I've been spelling kobolds wrong. I put an A in there. It's double O. So, anyway, I'm excited. And the reason I am honestly so excited about this is that with the past expansions, you know, it hasn't... I played WoW for a very long time. And there was... I wasn't getting super connected to the theme of things. But my thing that I used to always do that would drive my friends crazy I would always start new characters because I would want to try a shaman or something like that. I would want to switch up classes, switch up races. So the number of times that I've gone through that dang mine in Goldshire with these the kobolds saying, take candle. This to me is true the spirit of WoW and that world, and I am really pumped for this one. I really am. I think that there's a lot of fun that we can have with candles and with gems and with this the dungeon type adventure that's coming in with it. I am absolutely pumped for this one.
I think the dungeon run is like one of the best things they could have possibly done for Hearthstone. The fact that I personally wish you could use your own collection, but the fact that it's all pre-built decks and that you don't even have to really own cards to play it and have this repeatable content for people who are just getting into the game, and also for people who maybe not like play against other people. I think it's gonna get an entire new audience into Hearthstone.
Did you get a chance to play it there on the show floor while you were at BlizzCon?
I had an opportunity to, but unfortunately I didn't.
It's understandable. There was a lot going on.
Yeah. It was just there's way too much going on, my friends are telling me about it, and I knew I was going to get my hands on it eventually. So it was kind of like I wanted to do other things, but I had a pretty good grasp of what it is, especially after watching the HSI.
Yeah, so we had a request in the chat to kind of explain what the dungeon content is. So for those of you who may have missed it, the solo adventure in this is going to be what we're referring to as a dungeon crawl, basically. You'll start with a deck of 10 cards, and you'll play a boss. And once you defeat that boss, you'll get to choose from a discover mechanic that gives you 3 additional cards to add to your deck, plus maybe another bonus of, like, going forward, all your minions get +1/+1, or some kind of a stat boost. And as you progress through each dungeon will be randomly generated with 8 bosses out of a possible 48 bosses. So as you progress, each one will get a little bit harder and a little bit harder until by the end you've built a full deck, and you've got these benefits and degradations that may be affecting you as you play, and you just go through and try to defeat all 8 bosses basically to get a win. And to Wheva's point about replayability, you've got so many possible options out of the 48 bosses that every time you play this, it's going to be a little bit different. And you just there's so many options and possibilities. I just think it's probably... I actually looked at one of my friends and said, I'm not really worried about them fixing ladder anymore, because I'm going to probably be spending all my time in solo play.
Yeah, it definitely reaches a whole new audience, and that's what I like about it. I just wish I like that they have pre-built decks, but I wish you could use your own collection. I really wish you could as well. And build your own deck to play in it.
Yeah, that would be pretty interesting. You get to choose your first 10 cards. And the other thing is, when you lose, you have to start all over. It's very roguelike in the fact that you only have the one life in the dungeon crawl. If you lose, you're out, and you have to start all over.
Yep. So what you just draw bad, start all over.
Which could get a little frustrating if you get to 7 wins and then get a bad draw. But,
But that's a bit like Arena,
Yeah, but that adds to the replayability, is that, you maybe next time you'll get luckier.
Exactly. So, yeah. All right, let's talk about launch parties.
Yes.
Wheva, I know you guys are probably going to have a big old party at the cave for the launch of this expansion. What do you guys normally do for expansion launches?
For expansion launches, we always do. I mean, every week we do a tournament. That's what my community is about, is tournaments. So we do tournaments, and usually it's pretty much the same old, except for I'll have more stuff to give away, or we will have more prizing structure because it's like the release of expansion, and it's always so interesting because like usually the expansion comes out on a Thursday, and then our tournament's on Friday. So it's like people don't even get time to net deck at all.
That's really cool. That's I
Yep.
love when you just have to, people come in with home brews. That's so much fun.
Yep.
So
Homebrews. I've never heard it be called that. That's a fantastic phrase for it.
that
Yep.
goes
That's
back
so
to my
good.
magic
Is that a
days.
thing? I haven't heard it be called that, but it's perfect. Homebrews.
So, Aliri, what are you planning? What kind of events or side events or decorations do you like to incorporate into your launch events?
The question is, what am I not planning? I'm going to get really hard into this one. I'm really excited for the theme of it. One of the things I did confirm today was I had noticed a new community member from my last event. I actually worked with her at EB Games, excuse me, years ago, back when I did that. And she came to one of my last fireside gathering, and we reconnected, added each other on Facebook. And I saw that she was posting these cool little things that she makes that are geeky and part of the gaming universe, different characters. She does do some Hearthstone stuff, but she does a bunch of different things. And so today I reached out to her and I said, hey, planning the next event, are you interested in coming and being a vendor and just having like a table where you can sell your wares kind of deal? Like, it doesn't all have to be Hearthstone. Usually people aren't just specifically into Hearthstone. It could be anything in the Blizzard universe or other things too. And so she's gonna bring out her wares and sell them at my next event. And I am trying to add extra value for people coming out for things like that. There are craft fairs and things here that are pretty popular. So I'm going to start trying to tap into some of those people that have those, gaming type things, especially if they make them themselves, and see if they'll come and maybe start building this like exclusive little marketplace that every event they'll have different things, and it's an added attraction for people coming. So that's a new thing I'm going to try. But in terms of specifically the Kobolds and Catacombs, I love the dungeon run idea. I couldn't help myself. I was shopping just this weekend, and there's holiday decor out for Christmas. And it's like an outdoor light kind of for your house. You can use it inside too. And it has blue, red, and green. And it like mixes those colors around. And on a wall, it kind of looks like gemstones. So I got that. So I really want to be playing into this whole thing of, with a launch party, you're coming out and you're being launched into this adventure, into this game, and to have really interesting activities, but switching it up. But simple kind of come in and play stuff that necessarily isn't playing the game. My first call to action of the things I'm going to make is I'm going to take a normal game of Guess Who. The game where like you sit across from someone else and there's a bunch of faces and you have to try and guess who they have in front of them. I want to make a Hearthstone version of that. I want to take, Jaina and all those characters and like pop those in there so that people can come and play like these games they recognize, but it's got Hearthstone twist to it. But then of course we're going to do like dungeon speed running or something, like we're definitely going to play into that dungeon theme. I'm just really excited.
Speed runs sound like fun.
Yeah, right? And it's like whoever can beat the most bosses in the shortest amount of time gets like this bonus prize. Because especially where it is, because you're not building the decks, it is very open to people coming in and just playing. So I'm pretty excited, as you can tell.
Something that just came to me that I'm probably now just going to do is, rather than normal tournament, choose your own adventure tournament, where I'm just like basically going to do the same thing that Ben Bro did when he was revealing the cards, but Instead, people were going to unlock rules to how they build their decks for the tournament.
Very cool.
That's
I
awesome.
like it.
Yeah.
How about you, Avantes? What are you going to do?
So, I really like the idea of the dungeon speed runs. That's something I will probably incorporate into my event.
Yep, I'm stealing that too. That sounds awesome.
Yeah.
No, I'm probably going to just kind of have a good old-fashioned fireside gathering. Nothing, probably, we like to do pack openings. Like, everybody buys their 50-pack bundle, and then we kind of get together and open packs together and see who pulls what. And we like, one of our favorite things to do is just kind of theory craft. You know, before we go net decking, looking at what everybody's playing, we like to look at the cards and start to theory craft. Wow, this would be good in this situation, and this would be really good in this situation. How much fun would it be, you know, to have, you know, fill your opponent's board with treasure chests from Marin the Fox so they can't play any more minions, you know?
Yeah.
Just fun stuff like that, and then we'll usually try to build decks and start playtesting against each other. So, you know, we may run a tournament of some kind, but it's mostly, you know, get together, have some fun, play test, and check out a lot of the new stuff.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I know especially with the other podcasts that you do, it is a lot of play testing and things like that. And you know, I'm really excited to see what everyone comes up with in the Discord server. I hope everyone shares what they're doing, because we will have these different communities. Wheva with your, you know, ultra competitive aspect, and Avantes with your deck building proficiencies as a community. It's going to be really cool to see what people kind of adapt from this theme and from this expansion to suit their community and their patrons. I've said this like 100 times, but I'm really excited. Excuse me for this one.
Okay.
I'll stop saying I'm excited. Sorry.
No, it's understandable. When I first saw the announcement, I was like, because I don't like kobolds, but the dungeon run, and like just everything I'm thinking about when it comes to the theme of this event, I could see myself throwing some awesome firesides.
Yeah.
And then deviating from my norm, which is usually pretty hard with my community, but I think they'll be able to embrace it a lot more this time around.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. If you guys are looking for ideas for your very own launch parties, you know, take what we've talked about, or if you have other ideas that we might not have talked about, let us know about them in the podcast chat in the Discord. We'd love to hear from all of you what ideas you have for a Kobolds and Catacombs launch party. So, all right.
It's exciting stuff.
Yeah.
I had to get one more in there.
Marspad in chat says hundreds and thousands of candles. Start collecting now.
I do want to see if I can find a way that is cost effective or efficient to have it so everyone leaves with a little candle. Because the whole take candle, it'll be like, oh no, you get candle or something, you know.
I'm just thinking of how to get a really, really big candle and make that my trophy.
Like, take it because it's too heavy to lift.
Ooh, maybe here's an idea. Go buy one of those little like plastic toy like yellow hard hats and melt a candle to the top of it so that it sticks. Take candle.
Yeah.
Oh, you mean like make like a helmet?
Yeah.
And there's an actual candle on it.
Yeah, you like melt the candle to the top of the helmet, and then you wear it around at your fireside.
I'm pretty sure the kobolds, maybe they didn't have it on the helmet. They did have it on their head.
No, they had it on their head, but I'm not that committed.
Me either. All right.
Someone will do it. It might be Bites. I don't
It'll
know.
probably
It's
be
definitely
Bites.
gonna be Bites. Yeah, shout out to Bites, who is like the best
The
innkeeper.
innkeeper.
Yeah, he was the innkeeper at BlizzCon this weekend. Like, he was all over the place. Like, I just remember pulling up my Facebook and just seeing Corsair post a picture of him like on the Corsair chair with his mug, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, it's an incredible cosplay, and he epitomizes the innkeeper. So props to
Yep.
you, and massive shout out to Bites for that. You're repping us good. Repping us good, that's for sure.
Yep. Also, he threw an awesome fireside at Con Before the Storm.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he held a really cool one there too. So
That's awesome.
I'm pretty sure a lot of people got their Nemsies through that.
Oh, that's good.
Awesome.
That is good.
All right. So, do we have any listener questions in the Discord channel, O'Leary?
I didn't see any. Let me just take a real quick little double check. I don't see any.
Okay. All right. Like I said, if you guys have any ideas for your parties, please let us know. Use that podcast chat channel in the Discord. We'd love to hear from you. Any last thoughts or questions before we wrap up for the night? O'Leary, do you have anything you want to ask Wheva that you haven't asked yet?
Was it like, I don't know how to say it. I was gonna say, like, was it worth it? Obviously it was worth it. You won, but like just the training and everything that you went through with your team, like
even if were knocked out really early, it was worth it. We
Yeah.
bonded. Like, I mean, we were already really good friends in the first place, but we bonded so well through this experience and this practice. Like, so one of my firesides, instead of having a tournament, we just sat around and we did practice drafts for the second round for like 6 hours.
wow.
And it was so much fun. So like, even if you don't win Tavern versus Tavern, you get something out of it. Just that time you're taking to prepare with these people, you bond in another way when you're taking time to practice with people and trying to improve yourselves as a team.
Wow,
So-
that's great. And I do have one question. I remembered the question I wanted to ask you. As the winning innkeeper, what piece of advice would you give other innkeepers heading into the next TVT season? What's your golden piece of advice or thing that you learned with regards to, managing your team and getting your team to the point that you could get to BlizzCon and win?
I chose people that I guess I chose people that I just trusted, people that were ingrained into my community, and that I felt were going to put in the work and the effort and to win this. Well, I guess I chose Conrad, who chose the other two, but but I mean, I think every innkeeper is going to have their own way of approaching who they choose for their teams for Tavern versus Tavern. I know Bites had a tournament for his. I know some other people probably did the same. But I guess the number one thing is to just don't procrastinate, prepare, and have fun at the same time. Like, if you guys are stressing over like what decks to bring or stuff like that, then you're doing it all wrong, because we didn't really think about, like, we were of course trying to win, but we didn't think about winning until like we were in the round of 4 in the second round. Like, in the second round, we were like, oh my god, we're here. Like, for us, it was just our usual thing, which is competing in tournaments. My guys, they have this secret group called the East Coast Mafia, and they call themselves that because they go all up and down the East Coast, taking all the tavern heroes across the East Coast. So they're
Well,
used
they
to
don't
just...
come up to Halifax, so
Not a secret. It's not a secret anymore. So we did have a couple of questions from the chat. Bites asks, what would you hope changes or maybe works differently next year?
For Tavern vs. Tavern?
Yes.
When it came, it's going to be a really difficult problem for them to solve, but I would, like, our tavern, I know other taverns probably would have had more than one team if we could have confirmed those teams are playing. What happened was because my team 2, I couldn't say, like, you're guaranteed in. It's only if 80 taverns don't sign up. They just went to other local taverns. So I guess to make it easier for taverns who have a big community to get multiple teams in, because I feel only choosing, like, if you have a big community, choosing 3 people is really hard.
Mm-hmm.
Also, I would say that's the biggest thing right there.
Okay. Also, Marspad asks, name one thing you liked and one thing you didn't like about the event.
The 3v3 round robin I felt was the perfect format because everyone played everyone. There was no queue RNG, like where based on how you queue could decide a match, because everyone is going to play everyone. So your decks are going to want all 3 of your decks are going to play all 3 of your opponent's decks.
Mm-hmm.
And so I felt, and the matches didn't take too long either. And I would say the thing I didn't like was the second round. In the pool of 64 legendaries, they had really, really, really good ones like Dr. Boom, Ragnaros, Sylvanas, and then they had the absolute worst legendaries you could possibly have, which were Prince Malchazar, Millhouse Mana Storm, Major Domo, cards that you're being forced to put these cards into your decks. And if you are forced to draft one of these cards and then you draw it in a game, that is basically a dead card, and that just doesn't feel good. I feel the format would have been so much better if it was more about, like, all the legendaries in the pool were somewhat good. There's no really bad ones. And it was just more about which legendaries fit your decks better compared to the others. And that's how you drafted, rather than what it became was they just tried to draft the least amount of bad legendaries as possible. If that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. That's cool. All right, well, I guess that's going to probably do it for us this week. We had a great time having Wheva on the show again. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Congrats.
Seriously. Thank you.
Yeah.
Our pleasure. You're our champion innkeeper right now. It's our duty to just kind of help give you a platform to kind of, showcase the program, because, especially if they're expanding it next year and making it bigger, we want to hype it up and hype you up and all the great work you've done with your tavern and your team.
Let you know some of us are gunning for you next year.
Oh yeah.
I was already like, I'm coming for you next year.
Oh yeah, I know, and I'm looking forward to the competition, but I'm looking forward to be 2-time champion. Just saying.
All right, so this week we kind of talked about the Tavern v Tavern finals, and we talked about Kobolds and Catacombs launch parties. Make sure you join us next week for episode number 10 of the Innkeepers Podcast. So, Wheva, if people want to follow you online, why don't you tell them where they can find you?
You can follow me at Wheva, on Twitter. You're getting me to pronounce my name wrong. But at WHEVA on Twitter is where you can find me. If you're looking to get advice on starting a competitive community yourself, it's something I want to stress is that I don't think every community should be competitive. I don't think every community should be casual. I think there's a place for both. And I think there's a place for a community to also be both. It's just that's just
agree.
what I made my community. That's where my passion is. But I completely admire and respect people like Scott and O'Leary and Avidantes and Sam Benson from KC Firesides who do these amazing more social gatherings. And like if we're, like you I just think more firesides the better, and if you're more interested in competitive community, you can hit me up on Discord. I'm at Wheva, or I think at Steven. What am I on the Innkeepers Discord?
In Discord.
It depends. So they can search for your server nickname, which is Steven, but I'm pretty sure that your actual Discord is Wheva. So if they search either, they're gonna find you.
Yeah, Steven, Fairfax VA, or Wheva on Discord. Just PM me, and I will give you as much advice as you want on starting up a competitive community.
All right, so
That's
Leary?
where I am most experienced with.
Nice. All right, O'Leary, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter at O'Leary, ALEIRRI, and of course you can always find me hanging out in the Discord server, the Innkeeper Discord server that recently, very recently, I finally categorized our channels. So
Yes.
they're a bit broken up now, a bit more separated. So we have groups of channels for community aspects, and then fireside planning, and our public channels. I'm usually skulking around in there somewhere. How about you, Matthews? Where can people find out and reach about you?
Yes.
Reach out to you.
The easiest way would be on Twitter at AvantesHS, or every week you can find me on Twitch on Wednesday nights at 7:30 Eastern at twitch.tv/ECMMOGamers, where I am hosting the Hero Power Hearthstone podcast. This coming Wednesday night, we're going to be playtesting decks with Marin the Fox. So come join us. It should be a lot of fun to see see how Marin works in this current environment.
Yeah, I need to set a reminder for your podcast because I've only managed to catch it a couple of times, and I'm always like, it's Thursday, and I'm like, dang it.
Yeah,
Like,
I believe you're an hour
it.
ahead of us too, so it would be 8:30
Yeah.
your time.
It'll be 9. No, because it'll be 9:30 my time, wouldn't it?
All right, well, it's 7:30 Eastern.
Oh, okay.
So
I thought you said 8:30
Yeah.
before. Okay.
7:30 Eastern. So, all right. So don't forget, you can find all these great Innkeeper resources at hsinnkeepers.com or through Blizzard's site, which is resources.firesidegatherings.com. And that's going to do it for us this week. As we close the show, we want to thank all of you for joining us in chat or whether you're listening at home. And we'll see you all again next week.
Thanks for listening to the Innkeepers Podcast. For all sorts of Hearthstone community-related goodness, check out hsinnkeepers.com. Come on now. Are you just roping me along? Swing hammer.